You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong.
Welcome to episode 194 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my podcast partner in crime, writer, journalist, dog mom, and the person who transcribes books for the great Stanley Eugene, Jessica Szilagyi.
Thank you for that introduction. I was about to correct you and say, shouldn't you be saying one of my podcast partners in crime? But because you ended it about Stanley Eugene, I'm going to let it slide.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Oh, no, I totally did. That was way nicer than what I was going to say.
How was your week?
My week was great. Stanley released his newest book, and it's been successful so far, and I'm excited. I'm losing my voice a little bit. I'm sure people can tell, but I'm not sick, so that's great. I mean, it's always nice when you have to deal with the, symptoms of being sick without feeling sick. So what about you? How's your recovery?
It's coming along. I got out for the first time in 2 weeks to go have a follow-up. And, last week was beautiful most of the week except for Thursday, the day that I was going to the doctor, where it was rainy and cold, and I'm on crutches. But he seems very pleased with his handiwork, and I get to start therapy. Not that I need more than just physical therapy, I know. Next week, and I'm excited about that, to be able to get up and move around. But very excited about the Braves.
Yeah?
Look,
what happened?
Braves are world champions. Mm-hmm. As an Atlanta sports fan, we are conditioned to lose at the end. Whether it's the Falcons and being up 28-3 in the half, last year with the Braves being up 3-1 games over LA and losing three straight. So we're kind of conditioned to it. Even up 7-0 in the seventh inning, most Atlanta fans were not celebrating yet. Even when the announcers are already talking about world champions and things like that in the eighth and ninth inning, we're all holding our breath until that last out, because we're just conditioned as Atlanta fans to somehow screw it up. But they didn't.
Yeah.
They did.
And they did it with games to spare, too.
Yep, they had one game to spare. They did it in Houston in convincing fashion. And I stayed up till, I don't know, two or three that night, watching all the interviews and all that stuff. Because, we finally got our parade as the show drops. And, it's good. This city is just the sports curse in Atlanta now, and of course the Braves are the only major league team to win a championship. The Falcons never won one. The Hawks have never won one. I do not count Atlanta United, because that is, well, you can call it Major League Soccer all you want to, but it's a B league, because if you have real talent in soccer, you're playing in Europe.
Ooh, shots fired.
Look, it's like winning a championship in Japan in baseball, which is a great accomplishment, but it's not on the level of winning the World Series, and winning the MLS is not like winning a World Cup. It's not like playing for Manchester United. It's, like playing basketball in Europe. It's just it's entertaining and very good that you won it, but I don't put it on the level of winning a Super Bowl, World Series, or NBA Finals.
I can't wait to be talking smack to someone and be like, you're like the equivalent of playing baseball or basketball in Japan.
Well, yeah, baseball in Japan, yeah, basketball in Europe, or playing the Mexican League, summer or winter baseball. Yeah, winning is great at any level, but when you're at the top level of whatever game, that's MLB, that's NFL, that's that's NBA, NHL. I didn't think of NHL off the top of my head because I'm not growing up in Florida. We didn't play a whole lot of hockey.
Yeah.
But that's the top worldwide. That's anybody in the world that is good enough to play baseball. MLB comes here. Just look, the MVP for the World Series is a Cuban, Jorge Soler, and his last home run I don't think has landed yet.
Yeah, you're talking about a lot of things I don't really know. But I'm really happy you're happy.
Well, it's satisfying to have it. I mean, I don't live and die on whether my sports teams win, which is good because I'm a Gator fan.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Even if you're not a sports fan, it is exciting.
It is exciting. It's exciting for the city. It's exciting for the people of Georgia. Do I think that this is going to be the start of a run where they win, 3 world championships in 5 years? Probably not. It'd be great if it was, but it was a fun season. They were below 500 in August, which is below half winning, and they never stopped. And I enjoyed the World Series immensely, mostly, partially because I've been living in this chair for 2 weeks and hanging on every pitch. It was an exciting series.
Yeah, well, congrats.
But speaking of exciting, what kind of shakeups did we get with municipal elections?
I don't know. There were lots of local elections all around the state on Tuesday, which the Braves won on Tuesday also, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that was on Tuesday. So I remember thinking, nobody is watching their election results come in. I didn't even post them on our site until the next morning because I knew that unless you were running, you probably didn't care.
No, you're right. I didn't even pull up the election results until Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I mean, and understandably, but there was nothing really in particular that I wanted to mention other than we had a lot of contested elections down here in cities, and incumbents had a huge problem. I think in Statesboro they held steady, but in all of our other cities they were ousted. And then we have a town called Register, which I've written about in their police department and stuff. But twice, so this is the only thing I wanted to mention. They have put alcohol on the ballot to sell liquor at their one store. It's a town of a couple hundred people. They have the argument all the time about whether or not they should be a town. Whatever, doesn't really matter. But they're a town. They have a police department. They have all kinds of services. Twice they have voted on alcohol, and twice it has lost by 1 vote. And earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, I can't recall, they were all up in arms because they decided to institute property taxes. The town had not had property taxes ever, but they instituted property taxes to cover the costs. And one of the things they said was, if we collected more money in other taxes and fees, we could use that instead of property taxes. Well, everyone's outraged. They all show up to voice their opposition, and once again, it loses on the ballot by a vote of 30-29.
Unbelievable. And look, alcohol sales is a big thing for me in Paulding County because, of course, we have liquor stores in Hiram and in Dallas, but the county has been resistant. And one of the biggest and nicest, highest property value areas in Paulding County is in neither municipality. It's actually closer to Cobb County than it is to going into Dallas or to Hiram to go buy liquor. So all that money, and trust me, these soccer moms drink. It's all going to Cobb County. And if you go to the closest liquor store in Cobb County, there's a restaurant there that I frequent. You go in the parking lot and you look at the tags, Paulding, and all that money is leaving the county. And then, you hear people whine and complain about property taxes, which I do too. But you're not doing the steps necessary. Now, I don't know how much a single liquor store is actually going to contribute versus property taxes.
Here's the thing. In Paulding County, it's probably not anything that would be noticeable. In the town of Register, where their expenses aren't that much, I mean, having liquor sales, because it's the same situation where I don't know how many miles because I'm terrible at gauging stuff, but maybe, I don't know, like 5 or 10 to the county line. Just over the line is a liquor store called the County Line Package Store, and everyone drives there to buy liquor, not just from Register, but from Bullitt County in general. And so you know that there is a need there, and then the market is for there. So in Register, it could actually have an impact on their bottom line. But the church won again.
And I don't understand. Because if you want to save souls, and if you believe that liquor is evil, fine. But you don't do it by force, because all they do is cross the line. Even if you're in a dry county, people bring it in. That's Prohibition failed once already, and that was 100 years ago.
Well, the other thing, too, that doesn't make sense is, it's package sales. It's not... Sure, are there going to be people who crack open whatever they buy and drive? I'm sure there's people that do that. But it's not like you're having it served at a restaurant and your town is going to be this route. Like, people are going to get it, and then they're going to wherever they're going.
Well, that's the crazy thing out here is you can go to a restaurant and get loaded. We have liquor by the drink throughout the county. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got 15 different, I'm sure more, Mexican restaurants that you can get a pitcher of margaritas anytime you want. But you can't go buy tequila and mix and take it home and do it in the privacy of your own home and not get on the road. The logic there is messed up. And I told you, one of the first cases I heard when I sat on the Board of Zoning Appeals was for a Dollar General. And the only thing we were hearing was, can they reduce the number of parking spaces by three because of the topography of the lot. And a church showed up going, well, are you going to sell beer? He's like, it's a Dollar General. I've never seen beer at Dollar General. And literally from this Dollar General, Publix is across the street with an entire beer aisle. But this church had to show up and make sure that this Dollar General wasn't going to sell beer. It's
not ideologically consistent, and that ticks me off more than anything.
Sure. But speaking of needing to drink, Ahmaud Arbery trial hasn't even begun, and race is the only conversation they're having in the courtroom.
Yeah, so they've been doing jury selection for 2.5 weeks down in Brunswick, and I guess it's maybe by the time the show drops on Monday, it may be disingenuous to say that it hasn't started, because it's possible they will actually convene and get rolling on Friday afternoon. But right now, they've spent 2.5 weeks picking jurors, and they're up in arms, the community and the Arbery family, because the jury is 11 white people and 1 black juror. And I guess a special prosecutor from Cobb County, because, Kemp appointed Joyette Holmes because she was black. He didn't say that, but we all know that's why it was, a black female to prosecute the case after all the recusal issues. So she was appointed last year. Well, then she lost in the November election, so the office is still handling it. But a special prosecutor from Cobb County, they're all down in Brunswick, and the prosecution tried to challenge the fact that the defense attorneys removed 8 potential black jurors because they said it's unconstitutional to strike people from a jury solely because of their race. Now, that's what all the headlines are about, and it's like, oh my gosh, that is terrible. Like, and on the surface, like, it sounds bad that 11 white people were tried, or that were picked, and 1 black person, when I think the county population, I think it's like 25% black in Glenn County. But the Superior Court judge said that quite a few black jurors were excused, but by the defense, and it looked like, possibly that there were legitimate, non-discriminatory, clear and reasonable, specific and related for each person reasons for why they were not struck. But that's the narrative that's hitting all the headlines. All the headlines are that the defense, for these white men struck all the black jurors. I mean, we don't know if the black juror said, I think we should hang him in the square. We don't know what they said. We don't know why. And it's not in any other trial. I mean, we usually don't know why someone was struck until we get the transcript later on, which, I mean, like, there's nothing secretive about this. It's all been on local TV and, like, stream. You can watch it all. But, you know, we don't know why they were struck. And if they provided other reasons, then shame on every person pushing the story that it's just because of their race.
Of course, shame on every person pushing the story.
And shame on the prosecutor for objecting on those grounds.
Right. Right. The prosecution is just trying to win. And look, here's the thing. It may be representative to say 25% of the population, but what percentage was in that jury pool, number one, which we don't know. Number two, again, we don't know why they were struck. First thing they're asked is, do you think you can be impartial? And the answer may have been no. You know, it's been a very widely publicized crime and upcoming trial, and honestly, everybody's got an opinion about it already. Especially down there, it's been on the news, constant coverage of it. And I'm not saying it shouldn't have been covered. I'm just saying that to hang it just on race alone. And again, I don't know the makeup of the jury pool. It could have been that there were a total of within the entire pool. What do they have? 20 or 30 that they can, including alternate jurors and strikes.
No, they brought in like hundreds of people to weed through.
But once they weeded through all that, then they actually get to, you do a questionnaire and all that stuff and all that. So the white to black ratio could have been 90-10 at that point. I have no idea.
Here's the thing that bothers me is that there's a lot in play here. But first, each side gets to strike they get to strike jurors. No, they can't do it on race, but there are a lot of reasons that they can. And if they've asked the questions and can back it up, that's the end of the story. The second thing is I understand that it's supposed to be a jury of your peers and you want the jury to be representative of the community. But at the same time, like, you're saying that only black people are going to be capable, like that the white people are inherently incapable of being objective here.
Right. And that in and of itself is racist.
Right.
To say that, and you and I have covered this case also, and we came to similar conclusions on it, even though we're white. So the idea that a white person can't look at what happened and say, well, this was wrong, is absurd. It's this country's been leaning towards a new type of segregation for a couple years now, and I find it extremely problematic. You know, whether it's dorms that only have, they want to have separate dorms so that LGBTQ XYZ students can feel safe, or black students can feel safe, or whatever, and that's problematic. Or to say that only a black jury can be fair with this, or only a black judge, or in the case of Kemp, we got to make sure we have a black prosecutor to go and do this, and it's patently absurd. A learned member of the bar and a member of a prosecutor's office should, regardless of race, be able to look at the facts of the case and prosecute the case regardless.
Well, and here's the other thing. And I say this as somebody who has been certainly not of this magnitude, but who has been on the side of who has been a victim in a case. The state does not represent victims. The state represents the laws. And the burden is on the state, and the defense is entitled to a rigorous defense, no matter how you cut it, no matter how bad it is. I mean, we've seen this time and time again where people are annoyed. We've all been annoyed at different times by watching the defense that somebody gets. But that's what they're entitled to. It's a protected thing. It's a sacred thing. And I'm sorry that the Arbery family is upset about X, Y, and Z, but this is technically not about the family. This is about whether or not a crime was committed when Ahmaud Arbery was killed.
Absolutely.
That's the question we're having. That's what's before us. Not whether or not it ripped your heart out. Not whether or not it was hard to watch a guy fall to the ground after being shot in close. I mean, none of those things matter. The fact, and the fact that we are giving so much airtime to the Arbery family is problematic right now.
It is. And make no mistake, they're attempting to poison the jury pool.
Well, yeah, and they're already poisoned to the extent that pretty much everyone has seen the video. I mean, the defense attorney said at one point, we're not looking for jurors who haven't seen the video. We're looking for jurors who have seen the video and said that, they understand that there might be that things happened immediately leading up to that and things after the video and other facts and circumstances. And can they weigh all of that collectively? Because that video was seen hundreds of millions of times.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way that unless you're going to go and get a change of venue to Siberia, you're not going to find anybody who has not seen this video. And that's fine. What you're looking for, what both attorneys are looking for, are jurors with open minds that are going to make the decision based on facts presented in that courtroom and nothing else.
And I've got no patience for a juror who wants to sit there because of someone's race in either direction. It's disgusting.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't seen anybody that watched that video is like, nope, totally justified, regardless of race. So it's just I hate this is where we are, because I think we're moving backwards in relations in this country.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely moving backwards. But we have Georgia Senate Study Committee looking into the high cost of schools in the university system of Georgia, particularly their ongoing fees introduced after the 2008 recession that were supposed to be a temporary measure. Jessica, we know all about temporary measures.
Yeah, it's mighty rich to me that the legislature is criticizing the unelected, unaccountable body that is the Georgia university system of, for the Board of Regents. They're upset that they instituted a fee and then never rolled it back. It's almost like every single tax credit, every single tax incentive that the legislature has passed. Oh, I don't know, the Delta fuel tax, the things for electric vehicles, all that. All these things that were instituted to help something for a little while are never repealed, and now the legislature is upset about it. But this is actually, it's an interesting idea and conversation, but true to form, our lawmakers are doing it wrong. But basically, what has happened is Senator Mullis and Senator Sally Harrell. So Mullis, we've talked about him a lot. He's a in quotes Republican. And Sally Harrell is a Democrat, and they created this study committee. It was approved in the legislative session this year to talk about more affordable solutions, particularly for grad students and part-time students, because the fees are astronomical. There's technology fees, sports fees, and there was a lawsuit earlier this year about whether or not remote students who were taking 100% online courses should be required to pay these fees that are supposed to be associated with campuses. And I would be lying if I said I knew the outcome of it, but I can't imagine that. I would be shocked if the courts sided with the individual. But anyway, basically, I guess before the recession hit, fees were 25% of the cost of college, and the actual tuition was 75%, and now it's 50-50, which is exactly what the Board of Regents wanted to do, and that they so that you can't take it away, because then their argument's going to be, well, we're going to have to raise tuition to make up for 50% of our income, our revenue. But I guess on an average full-time student per semester, the fees are like $993 on top of, depending on where you go, $1,700 to $2,200 for like, I guess like Georgia Perimeter, Kennesaw, things like that.
Well, nothing is ever temporary. This is something that we've all been screaming about, the COVID stuff, about the power given to the executive branch, the power given to government to close businesses because we're in a crisis right now. And that same thing happened in 08, 09 with we're in a crisis right now. And I'm not sure how you're supposed to help people in a recession by making tuition more expensive. And these fees are not covered by
yes.
hope.
That's a good point that I left off. Like, that's what's interesting about doing it during the recession is the part of the college that is, and I guess like it's because they cut the funding and the reimbursements and everything, but it's interesting that you make college more expensive, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, except that we're telling everyone to go to college and making the degree less valuable and making it more expensive to go. And so you just created this terrible show of a vicious cycle. But back to your point.
Well, and look, I'm the first one to say hope has not helped anyone. All it's done is made tuition more expensive. This, to me, is a money grab to fund the colleges out of students' pockets with the false promise of scholarships. So you think I've got the scholarship, the next thing you know, by the way, we've got this fee, this fee, this fee, this fee. And for 50% of it to be, just make that the damn tuition, whatever it costs to send a student to school. And I totally agree with the idea that if you're 100% online, especially the last 18, 20 months, where a lot of students never stepped foot onto campus, why the hell are they paying these fees?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of fees. There's an institutional fee, which was the one that was instituted in 2009. And that's like $100 to $450 per semester, depending on which school you go to. At Kennesaw, you have to pay $55 for technology. I mean, I'm looking at Kennesaw State as an example. That's the only budget that I have. But for FY22, or for this school year, so fall 21 and spring 22, there's an activity fee of $39, an athletic fee of $221, a health fee of $51, a parking fee of $83, $97 for rec center, $300 for an institutional fee, $86 for sports and recreation parks, $55 for tech, $58 for transportation, and a $3 wellness fee for a total of $993 if you're taking 5 or more hours. And I guess that's on top of, so a 12-hour tuition for in-state, taking 12 hours undergrad is $2,224.80 for one semester. So, obviously with almost $1,000 in fees, it's $3,200 a semester for undergrad at Kennesaw.
And then you have the biggest scam in higher education, which is books.
Yeah. Which have not gotten less expensive, even though they're digital.
Yeah, books are the biggest scam in higher education.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, it's a money-making venture. One of the early stories that when I came on the show that we covered was an independent university that the owner of Captive Air created, and showed how inexpensive college can be when it is just an institution for learning. As the same guy owns private schools that people are in line for. I believe he's in the Carolinas. But as a private institution, we don't, no scholarships, no this. We have, we don't do sports on the primary school. We don't feed the kids. This is what we do. We educate children. And people are waiting in line for this opportunity. And I understand that college is an experience for a lot of kids, but all these fees, the parks were closed, and they've got fees to maintain these parks.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting that there's like a sports fee and a parks and rec fee. I mean, I appreciate the transparency and breaking it out, but some of it seems to overlap a little bit.
Oh, sure it does, and it's just a money grab. So, this is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories over at thegeorgiavirtue.com. I like this headline, Jessica. What the F is Dave's favorite doing? Speaking of my beloved Gators, the University of Florida forbade 3 of its professors from testifying as expert witnesses in a lawsuit challenging a new Florida voting law. Now they're suing.
Yeah, so Florida kind of did what Georgia did in some of their voting overhauls, like the ballot drop boxes, voting by mail. And they signed theirs into law in May, DeSantis did. And of course, the organizations filed to sue, saying it disproportionately harmed people of color because I guess, white people can't be wrong by voting laws. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's hilarious that we made the news for months and months and months while other states have been doing the same stuff.
Yeah, we lost the All-Star game because of the misrepresentation of our new voting law, but that's okay. We traded it for a ring. Ha. The law passed this year. I mean, it's just it limitations on voting by mail and ballot drop boxes. This law went into effect. It was signed in May. First of all, it's not a voting rights group if you oppose people actually voting and counting actual votes.
Well, I mean, if you can't put it in a random mailbox on the side of the road, how else are they supposed to vote?
Yeah, if you can't drive around and collect mail-in ballots and put your own stamps on them and drop them off by the hundreds, I mean, are you truly defending the Republic?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're not getting into the nuts and bolts of the Florida law, but UF President Ken Fuchs, and that's not how I was going to pronounce it, and Provost Joe Glover jointly issued a statement affirming the university's dedication to academic freedom and freedom of speech, announcing the appointment of a quote-unquote task force to review the university's policy on conflicts of interest for consistency and fidelity. We talked about academic freedom not long ago.
We did.
So freedom only goes one way.
Well, the argument that the university is making that they can do it pro bono or on their own time, that they're free to do so. And this is my own ignorance because I remember learning I actually took a course on this in grad school, but I hated the teacher, so I didn't really do much. But because he was
now that you're petty.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, I think I turned the evaluation over and like wrote a letter to him because he was so awful. But he was extremely liberal. But isn't there something like when you are a professor somewhere and you publish books, like isn't there some sort of agreement between you and the university for, I mean, like making money, I guess, while you're employed as a professor? Isn't that kind of a muddy thing?
It's done all the time. Whether it's TV appearances, we see it constantly. Professor of this, professor of that. Anytime you watch talking heads, they're on TV giving their opinions. But I really think acting as an expert witness is a service to the community. And it's not up to the university to decide what your opinion is on it.
Well, yeah, that's a terribly... I mean, if someone wants to subpoena or pay someone as an expert testimony, like, and I don't know. Especially since the university receives state and federal funds.
Right. And they're testifying on behalf of the state. It would be interesting to see if the same would be true if they were being called as expert witnesses for the plaintiff. Would the university be that quick to jump in and say, nope, can't do that. No, can't do that. No, they would quote academic freedom and say, we're not getting into it one way or the other, but our professors are free to express their opinions in court or anywhere else. But because these, 3 professors are going to testify on behalf of the state, all of a sudden it's a problem.
No. They're not testifying on part of the state, aren't they? I thought they were testifying, like, because the whole argument is that it would be in conflict with the executive branch.
Well, the university system is, even though they accept funds, they're independent. No, and I may have misread it. So this is awesome radio.
No, I'm confused. But I mean, either way, first of all, it's alarming to me that a university system or an institution on its own would tell somebody whether or not they can make money. You know, it's not like professors work 9 to 5. Everybody knows that because classes are different and the way they work. I mean, it's just a unique job. So like to say that when they're not on campus, that they can't be paid to go do something else.
Right.
Or what?
I don't care if it's pontificating or if it's bagging groceries at Publix. When they're not in class or they're not doing their research and they're off campus, that's it. You know, we're not talking about members of the military here that have huge restrictions on what they can do in the public square. We're talking about academics, and the university really has no place in telling them what they can do when they're not on campus, when they're not performing duties for the university. And it doesn't matter which side they're testifying for. They're being asked to come and testify based on their expertise in their field. If it was somebody in the research department and they were being asked to go and testify based on the vaccine or something like that, you absolutely have university folks come in and testify because those are the people doing the research. You know, if they're doing efficacy rates or something like that, you know, that's who's doing the research. So absolutely, you have them come and testify, whether it's before Congress or if they're giving their 2 cents on the public square or writing an op-ed or anything like that. That's what academics do. How this becomes a problem now, I don't understand.
It's just, well, again, it's another example of ideological and obviously policy inconsistency. The one thing I don't understand is, you know, certainly University of Florida has more than 3 like poli-sci law professor type people, right?
You would think. Yes, between department heads and professors and everybody else. Yeah, the poli-sci department is not 3 professors. No, absolutely.
I don't know. It would be. I think this is something. Honestly, it's something I'd like to see work out in front of a jury. Not that juries are brilliant, but I would like to see like both sides argue where this should fall, because maybe we do need to further define what a professor is and how they, like, at what point you are a state employee and stuff. Because, I mean, if you're a detective or an agent for the GBI or you work for the Department of Education, like, you can't just testify at will. Like, if you work for the GBI, you can't just be called in for all kinds of wrongful death or, you know, use of, I don't know, like, you just wouldn't be able to bring them in because they have no obligation, like, subpoena power wise. And I don't know. I would like to see this play out.
Yeah, I don't know where professors fall as state employees. Because they're sort of contract employees.
Well, hold on a second. If they're getting, I mean, they are state employees because they're getting all those pensions and health insurance benefits. And, I mean, certainly, but I guess the question is, like, can state employees work as experts without restriction? Yes or no?
Well, that's...
Because it can't be sometimes. That's the problem.
Right. Yes, there's going to have to be a hard, fast rule put out, and this is it. You can only testify for the state because you're a state employee, unless subpoenaed or something like that. I don't know. I don't know where that is in relation to state policy or state law. It's a good question. It will be a interesting case to follow if it actually goes anywhere.
Yeah. It is Florida, though.
It is Florida. So the briefs will be had in jean shorts.
While people wrestle alligators outside.
Exactly. Yeah. Snakes, alligators, and jean shorts. Mm-hmm. And yes, I did own...
Sounds like a day in the legislature.
Yeah, I did own jean shorts when I lived in Florida.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, those were swim trunks to us. I just can't even go there, huh? A wrongful death lawsuit filed against Seattle leaders in fatal protest zone shooting. A father filed a wrongful death lawsuit alleging Seattle city officials acted with deliberate indifference to circumstances that led to his 19-year-old son's death during a Capitol Hill occupied protest over racial injustices last year.
I love this. I love it because on the side of the government, it totally and completely outlines why we should not have free speech zones, because this is what this was, the protest zone. I mean, it's why there's such a bad idea, because not that I think that the government is responsible, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but, you know, you put someone, you tell people, like, this is where you can be, and this is a government-sanctioned place, and then something bad happens there, of course they're going to blame you. Like, what do you expect?
Sure.
You might not be responsible, but of course they're going to blame you.
Being culpable and legally responsible are two different concepts. But yeah, this was supposed to be the summer of love, as I recall. Mm-hmm. That this was going to be an area of peace and love. It ended up being an area of pestilence and violence.
Yeah, it was extremely dangerous.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm surprised more people didn't die of, like, dysentery and things like that just from the conditions in Seattle were just absolutely disgusting.
Well, and I'm pretty sure that they're like what's it called? Because it wasn't all protests, but their time period of all, like, went on way longer than anywhere else in the country. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they put people out of business just absolutely destroyed the area. And true, some people did show up there as, 21st century hippies to go out there and strum a acoustic guitar and sing and do that kind of stuff and pass flowers. But it
Surprise!
was attractive. Yeah, it was attractive to people that wanted a lawless society and were interested in violence because they knew they wouldn't be held accountable.
Raping and pillaging, literally.
I was going to say, quite literally.
Yeah.
So the lawsuit filed in King County Superior Court by Horace Anderson and the estate of his slain son comes after Seattle police abandoned their East Precinct during the protests.
So kind of like what Minneapolis, didn't they have to do the same thing there when they set it on fire? They actually left.
Yeah, which is always a good way of stopping violence, is to completely pull out and let them get away with anything they want.
Well, if you're protesting the police and you don't want police presence and you're going to behave like that. I mean, they when you're torching buildings and stuff, I don't know. But how are you going to blame the rioters on the police?
Yeah.
If I'm home and someone comes in and robs me in my home, I can't blame the police for not stopping it.
No, and look, there's a culpability here. The entire situation was handled very poorly. Like I said, businesses were destroyed. Family business, absolutely destroyed. It was an awful situation. However, this 19-year-old adult made the decision to be there.
He did.
So, look, if there are neighborhoods in Atlanta, if I go down there and get myself shot because I'm doing something stupid, my family can't go sue City of Atlanta because I should know better.
Well,
I'm not.
You should know better, but you just can't. I mean, the mother. So I don't know if they're divorced or what, but the mother of this 19-year-old, she filed a suit in federal court, and it was dismissed because they said that members of the public have no constitutional right to sue city officials who fail to protect them against harm inflicted by a third party. Makes sense. The new lawsuit filed by the father is like a state suit, and it claims that, again, like you talked about, the negligence, and they said deliberate indifference, but that the duties of the officials owe citizens, and that they shouldn't have immunity. But was it Parkland where they said that officers have no duty to respond?
I think you're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse.
No. I'm talking. There was a case in Florida where when that school resource officer didn't charge the building, and they said that.
Yes. Sorry, we've had so much.
I know.
So much of this lately.
I know.
Yeah,
because people sue about everything.
That was my home. That was Broward County, I believe. Where it said,
but it's true. I mean, it was the argument. It was a sheriff's deputy. There was a school resource deputy, and that but if you look at state constitutions, they say that the job of a sheriff is to run the jail, protect the courthouse, and keep the peace. It doesn't say you have to I mean, I'm not saying that is right, but it doesn't say they have to. So you can't sue them. You can't argue all day long. These people kill me. You can't argue all day long that the government. The Constitution doesn't say someone can do something, so the government shouldn't be doing it. But then when something comes along and they didn't do something, be mad because they didn't do it when they're not authorized, they're not mandated to do it. It's
right. No, it's absolutely hypocritical. Everybody's an ideologue until it affects them.
Exactly. It's just so frustrating.
And there is a wide chasm between moral and ethical obligations. And of course, you're morally and ethically obligated to go and save people and legal obligations. And the law doesn't say that a deputy has to go and risk his life and charge into gunfire to save people. It just doesn't.
Well,
but that sheriff, I think he lost election. There was did he not?
I don't know, but Broward County is an interesting place. But I mean, whatever the ruling was, kind of like set a precedent around the country, and it's so. I mean, I know that there are different state laws and everything, and I don't. Municipal police are different than a constitutional office of a sheriff, but I still don't. Yeah, they have a responsibility and they shouldn't have left, but you can't prove that if they had been there, it wouldn't have happened.
Right. It was civil unrest. And I'm sorry, that 19-year-old adult was in the middle of the civil unrest.
Right. I mean, what's unfortunate, though, is that they'll probably get something.
What, a settlement?
Yeah.
Well, there's probably probably in the city's best interest not to take it to trial, because there is a lot of anger about that stuff. There's a lot of anger directed at the police, and then you have a suffering family that is going to pluck on the heartstrings of a jury. So it probably is in their best interest to cut them a check and make them go away, make them sign an NDA, and make them go away. Of course, I'm not an attorney, but from a layman's observer standpoint, it seems like it would be much more efficient for the city to cut a check than it is to pay a legal team, take this to trial, and then still possibly lose.
I guess.
And that will really tell if this family takes a settlement. It will show that it was about money and not about right and wrong. Right and wrong, you want to go to trial and you want this to be exposed. If they get offered $5 million or what, I'm just coming up with a number out of my butt. If they get offered $5 million to go away and they take it, that means that's what they were after. They were after money. They weren't actually after changing the way that the police departments and sheriff's departments sheriff's offices handle civil unrest.
No, totally. I mean, it's just backwards. It's all backwards.
No, the last 20 months has been backwards. And the CHOP or whatever the hell they called it in that area, the autonomous zone where they put up barricades and wouldn't allow police in, and everybody's kind of hung back. Look, that is an insurgency, and the government actually is constitutionally allowed to go in and put down civil unrest, put down an uprising like that. When you set fire to a police department, when you chase police out, we actually do have the authority to go and stop that.
The irony of all of that is that they were opposed to the federal troops going in, which, I mean, we talked about that on the show too, but they resisted that.
Well, yeah, because it was coming from Donald Trump.
Right, but I mean, they refuse. I don't know. And I'm not just talking about the city of Seattle. Like the people up there did not want. I mean, they were saying that we'll fight them, we'll take them, like keep on. It's just I don't like people at all.
Look, it was a unique situation. I don't see the merit of the case, but you're probably right. There'll be a settlement just to make them go away.
Yeah, because you got insurance policy and it's easier that way, and no one has to admit wrongdoing, and we can keep doing the same things we've always done.
Except somebody is going to buy a nice new house. So, Jessica, as we're winding down with all the good news that we've had this week, closing thoughts.
I just wanted to give a little praise to the guy. He's not really getting a lot of attention, again, because people don't pay attention. The World Series and everything. But the state Senate president in New Jersey, Steve Sweeney, lost re-election to a Republican. They initially reported that he spent $153, but apparently that was just in the primary. But he said he spent more than $5,000, less than $10,000. He hadn't finished his final figures. But he ousted an incumbent in leadership by the good old grassroots, door knocking, meeting people. And of course, I'm sure he had the momentum of some other things that were going on in New Jersey at the time. But he kicked butt in an off-year election and didn't have to spend $100,000 to do it, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, he's a truck driver.
Yeah,
he's a truck driver. I saw some of his commercials. His name's Durr, Durr. Yeah, but he came across as a regular guy. Not to mention there's a huge anti-incumbent wave moving through the country right now.
But from the opposite political party?
Sweeney. Yeah, but after the restrictions, again, this is about the fifth time I said it. After the last 20 months, people are upset, and this is a Republican who spent $153 in the primary, $153 in the primary.
I'm guessing there was no other Republican.
Yeah, or then less than 10,000 in the general, which I would guess he got some money coming in from the RNC, which is why he spent that much money. Is once you get through the primary, there's other money that comes in. There's national money that comes in, state money that comes in, plus people who don't like Sweeney from anywhere in the state, hell, anywhere in the country could send him money. Mm-hmm. And now this guy has worked himself into a job.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
And I think he seems like a good guy. I mean, he's still a New Jersey Republican, which down here we call Democrats. Right,
but they're the old school Democrats. If they're like the Blue Dog Democrats, not the socialist. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying
not Ilhan Omar. Right. But yeah, this guy is the poster child for citizen legislators. He's not going to stop driving his truck. This was a working man that said, I'm fed up with the way things are going at the state house, and let me get involved. And I absolutely love it. I think it's a great pick for Hero of the Week.
Yeah, and he did it with such, I just love that he was able to do it with such little money, because that shows his hard work.
It is, and especially local politics. And I understand it's a state position, but your district is local. It's getting out and meeting people. It's even on statewide. It's showing up at stuff. It's shaking hands. It's all the stuff that Perdue did not do in his last election because he just thought he was bulletproof. Mm-hmm. But getting out and pressing the flesh and listening to people. And I guarantee you that, like, Sweeney was asked for a debate and he just scoffed. He wasn't going to give this guy, any legitimacy. Just ignore him. So Sweeney refused to debate him. And you would think, somebody who's the Senate president and so learned would gladly show up to a debate thinking he's going to mop the floor with this simpleton who drives a truck. But no, he just refused to show up, and I guarantee you that didn't play well when he knocked on doors and said, "Look, I've invited him to a debate, but he refuses to come."
He's a loser now.
What's that?
Now he's a loser.
He is a loser now. The only thing I have is, if you like what you heard, please like and share us on social media. Inflict us on your friends. Give us a rating on whatever platform you use to listen to us. 5 stars is acceptable. Anything less is not. If you have any criticism, please let us know. It is up to, we're allowing 1 per week per Jessica. Is it 1 or 2 per week, Jess?
1 unless it's a holiday.
1 unless it's a holiday. So, thank you very much for listening. On behalf of Jessica Slodgy, my partner, Eric Cumby, our awesome editor. I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.